In the grimy, smoke-choked streets of 19th-century London, a young inventor named Elias Thorn toiled away in a dimly lit basement. The city above him was a labyrinth of despair, where the stench of coal and human suffering filled the air. But Elias had a dream that would change the world and curse his soul forever. It began with a simple idea to create a machine that could cleanse the filth from people's lives. His first prototype was crude, powered by steam and brass cogs, but it worked. Oh, how it worked! The nobles of London were fascinated by this strange device that could suck up the dirt from their expensive carpets. They called it the devil's breath. But success came at a terrible price. You see, Elias wasn't just fighting against technological limitations, he was fighting against powerful enemies. The Street Sweepers Guild saw his invention as a threat to their livelihood. They began with threats, then vandalism, and finally murder. One cold winter night they broke into his workshop and killed his beloved wife, leaving her lifeless body lying amongst shattered inventions. Blinded by grief and rage, Elias made a deal with the most dangerous criminal organization in London, the Black Veil Society. In exchange for protection and funding, he would provide them with exclusive rights to use his invention for more sinister purposes. He never imagined what they would do with it, modifying his pious creation into a weapon that could extract not just dirt, but human souls. As the years passed, Elias became both a genius and a monster. His company, Thorn Industries, grew into an empire. The very streets that once mocked him now bore the mark of his success. Massive factories belching smoke into the sky, and every wealthy household sporting his revolutionary cleaning devices. Yet each night he was haunted by nightmares of his wife's death and the countless lives destroyed by his invention's dark applications. The turning point came when he discovered that his own daughter, Charlotte, had been secretly working with the resistance movement against his company. She had uncovered the truth about the soul-extracting machines and was determined to bring down her father's empire. Their confrontation in the Grand Hall of Thorn Manor was like something out of Greek tragedy. She armed with damning evidence, he armed with decades of pent-up guilt and anger.
You don't understand. I did it all for you, for a better future.
And how many futures have you stolen? How many souls have been taken in the name of cleanliness?
Their battle ended with the destruction of the original prototype, the machine that had started it all. As it shattered into 1,000 pieces, something unexpected happened. All the souls trapped within the network of modified vacuum cleaners across the city were released in a spectacular display of light and sound. It was beautiful, terrifying, and cathartic all at once. Elias disappeared that night, leaving behind his fortune and his factories. Some say he went mad, wandering the streets he once sought to clean. Others claim he found redemption in helping those displaced by industrialization. The truth is lost to history, buried beneath layers of myth and speculation. Thorn Industries continued to exist, but without its dark secrets. The company shifted focus to creating truly beneficial technologies, though always under careful public scrutiny. And somewhere, perhaps in a small cottage by the sea, an old man watches as modern vacuum cleaners hum across floors, remembering a time when such simple devices held the power to both destroy and redeem humanity. Even today, if you listen closely while using a vacuum cleaner, you might hear a faint whisper, a reminder of the price paid for progress, and of one man's impossible journey through darkness toward light. But let us rewind, back to the origins of Elias Thorn's descent into madness. Before the tragedy, before the blood-stained streets of London became his battlefield, Elias was nothing more than a poor tinkerer with calloused hands and a mind full of impossible ideas. Born in the slums of Whitechapel, he grew up watching his mother scrub floors until her fingers bled, trying to make ends meet. That image, her hunched over, coughing from the dust and grime, seared itself into his memory. He vowed even as a child to create something that would ease the burden of labor for people like her. His early experiments were laughable. Neighbours often jeered at the strange contraptions he dragged out of his tiny flat, muttering about mad scientists and wasting good metal, but Elias persisted. He scavenged parts from junkyards, begged scraps from blacksmiths, and spent sleepless nights sketching designs by candlelight. His breakthrough came when he stumbled upon an abandoned laboratory belonging to a disgraced physicist. Among the dusty papers and broken instruments he found blueprints for a pneumatic suction device. Though far beyond his understanding at the time, these notes sparked the first real glimmer of hope in his heart. Elias poured everything he had into building his first functional model. The process nearly killed him. There were explosions, fires, and near electrocutions. More than once he considered giving up. But fate intervened in the form of Eleanor, the woman who would become his wife. A governess by trade, she possessed a sharp intellect and boundless patience. Together they refined the design, turning what was once a clunky, unreliable mess into a sleek, efficient machine. Their partnership was not just romantic, it was intellectual. Eleanor pushed Elias to think bigger, to imagine uses for his invention beyond mere carpet cleaning. What if, she suggested, it could be used to clear debris from construction sites, or help miners breathe easier underground? For a brief period, their lives seemed charmed. Orders poured in from aristocrats eager to showcase the latest technological marvel. Newspapers hailed Elias as a visionary, and his name became synonymous with innovation. Yet behind closed doors, cracks began to form. The pressure mounted as competitors emerged, attempting to replicate his work. Worse still, whispers spread among the lower classes. Factory workers feared the vacuum cleaner would render them obsolete, while religious zealots condemned it as unnatural, claiming it tampered with God's will by removing filth too easily. It was during this turbulent time that the Street Sweepers Guild struck. Their attack on Elias's workshop was swift and brutal. When the police arrived, they found only destruction, shattered glass, twisted metal, and Eleanor's lifeless body sprawled across the floor. The authorities dismissed it as a random act of violence, but Elias knew better. This was no mere robbery, it was a message: abandon your invention or lose everything. Grief consumed him. For weeks he locked himself away, refusing food or visitors. The weight of failure pressed down on him, crushing any remaining optimism. Then one evening a stranger appeared at his door, clad in a tailored suit and exuding an aura of menace. He introduced himself as Victor Langley, representative of the Black Veil Society.
They offered Elias a lifeline, protection, resources, and revenge. All they asked in return was loyalty and access to his technology.
At first, Elias resisted. He had seen enough death. But desperation gnawed at him, and the thought of justice burned brightly. Slowly he allowed himself to be drawn into their web. At first, the requests seemed harmless enough. Modify the machine to handle larger volumes of debris. Develop attachments for industrial use. But soon the demands grew darker. They wanted weapons, devices capable of incapacitating crowds, tools that could silence dissenters permanently. Elias tried to justify it to himself. These modifications weren't his fault. They were being forced upon him. Besides, the funds allowed him to expand his legitimate operations, providing jobs to thousands. By day, he was a celebrated industrialist. By night, he became a reluctant accomplice to atrocities. Each new order chipped away at his humanity until he barely recognized the man staring back at him in the mirror. Then came the revelation that changed everything. While reviewing financial records, Charlotte, now grown into a fiercely intelligent young woman, uncovered discrepancies. Payments routed to shadowy accounts, contracts signed with organizations known for their brutality. Questions led to investigations, which in turn led to horrifying discoveries. Her father's machines weren't just tools of oppression anymore. They had evolved into instruments of extraction, literally pulling life force from victims, leaving behind hollow shells. Confronting Elias was the hardest thing she ever did. She expected denial, anger, perhaps even violence. What she didn't expect was the look of utter defeat in his eyes. He confessed everything: the deals, the compromises, the deaths he had indirectly caused. Together, they hatched a plan to destroy the network of corrupted machines, knowing it might cost them their lives. The climax unfolded during a lavish gala hosted at Thorn Manor. Guests danced and drank champagne, oblivious to the storm brewing below. In the bowels of the estate, Elias and Charlotte fought side by side, disabling security systems and sabotaging key components. When Victor Langley arrived, leading a squad of enforcers, chaos erupted. Bullets flew, gears ground to a halt, and sparks rained down like fireworks. In the final moments, as the central core of the system began to overload, Elias made the ultimate sacrifice. Pushing Charlotte to safety, he stayed behind to ensure the destruction was complete. When dawn broke, the manor lay in ruins. Rumours circulated about what had transpired, but no bodies were found. Some believed Elias perished in the explosion. Others whispered that he escaped, vanishing into obscurity. Whatever the truth, Thorn Industries underwent a dramatic transformation under Charlotte's leadership. She dismantled its ties to the Black Veil Society and redirected its focus toward humanitarian efforts. Vacuum cleaners returned to their original purpose, making life easier, not ending it. Decades later, historians would debate whether Elias Thorn was a villain or a victim. Was he a brilliant innovator corrupted by greed, or a tragic figure manipulated by forces beyond his control? Perhaps the answer lies somewhere in between. What remains undeniable is the legacy he left behind, a cautionary tale of ambition, morality, and the fine line between progress and peril. And so, the next time you switch on your vacuum cleaner, take a moment to reflect.